In this video, we'll be learning how that in the early 1800s, Americans started traveling west and all the benefits and troubles that happened because of this. So why did people want to move west? Well, it was all because of this thing called manifest destiny, which was a belief that many Americans had that they owned the whole continent and they could move wherever they wanted to because they believed that that right was given to them by God. They also wanted all the good stuff in the West, like gold, land, adventure, and beavers. But a lot of people died traveling and living in the West from disease, starvation, weather, native attacks, and basically their own stupidity. They had no idea how to live in the West. But tons of people still wanted to live in the West, and this started lots of problems. And some of these problems happened in Texas. Texas! So, let's talk about Texas. And not the cowboy loving whatever Texas. I'm talking about the real Texas. The Spanish Texas. Yeah. So Spain controlled Texas for like hundreds of years now, and they were all about people settling in Texas. And they offered cheap land to settlers, and it was great. Everybody was happy. But there were rules. And the first rule was that you had to learn Spanish to come to Texas, which made sense. The second rule was that you had to become a Mexican citizen. And okay. The third rule was that you had to convert to Catholicism, whatever. And the fourth rule was no slaves. And everyone freaked out. They're like, no! Since many Americans couldn't even consider getting rid of their slaves and doing their own work, they ignored some rules and just moved anyway. And sure, the Spanish took it for a while, till they just had enough and they were just like, fine. But guess what, guys? No voting for immigrants anymore, and you have to pay more taxes. And the Spanish threatened immigrants with military force if they didn't follow the rules again. Mexicans, people who lived in Texas, wanted independence, and the Spanish wanted Mexicans to follow the rules. So everyone was basically mad at each other. In all this mess and chaos, one man decided to take control, and his name was Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. And he was a jerk. He was just a terrible guy. No one liked him, really. So in the mess that was Texas, Santa Anna took control and proclaimed to be the new leader of Mexico. And as leader, he got rid of the Mexican Constitution, which was basically everyone's rights. So the people in Texas were mad, and they revolted against Spanish and Santa Anna. This war is where the famous battle at the Alamo happened. So during this war in Texas, they asked for help, and the U.S. wanted nothing to do with this war at all. But that didn't mean that the American citizens felt the same way. So many American citizens went down to Texas themselves to fight in the war. And a famous battle was at the Alamo. So 200 to 250 Mexican and American rebels gathered at the Alamo to prevent Santa Anna and his men advancing deeper into Texas. And that didn't make Santa Anna happy at all. So the rebels just camped out at the Alamo and fought Santa Anna's men. And this battle was pretty much an epic fail for the rebels because Santa Anna just put the Alamo under siege, so he just cut off their supplies and waited them out. So they were weak and they got defeated hard, and almost all the rebels were killed. There maybe was like 7 prisoners taken, but they themselves were all later executed by Santa Anna. But they got their revenge! This brutal defeat fueled Texans to create an army to fight more fiercely. They used surprise attacks and once killed over 600 Spanish soldiers in under 20 minutes, which was pretty amazing. And Santa Anna escaped with his life, but was forced to sign over Texas' freedom, making it independent once and for all. Kind of. Everyone was happy for a while until Mexico and the U.S. disputed over Texas' boundary and which sections of Texas was theirs. President Polk, president I never even knew existed, tried to intimidate Mexico by sending American troops into Texas to try to get Mexico to finally sell Texas to us, but Mexico would not budge. So while this argument was going on, guess what stupid face came back to town? That's right, Santa Anna. And tricky Santa Anna came up with a plan to get back into power. And that was that he sent letters to both Mexico and America. And he wrote to Mexico that if they gave him power, he would create a strong army to protect them. And he wrote to America that if they helped him rise to power in Mexico, he'll sell them Texas later. So U.S. and Mexico both helped Santa Anna gain power. And what do you know? He took control of Mexico and became a dictator. Both Mexico and the U.S. thought it was such a great idea to help Santa Anna come back into power, and he became a dictator, and for revenge, he went back to war with the U.S. This war was pretty short, just 4 years, because the U.S. Army basically just invaded Mexico and took control of Mexico City. And Mexico surrendered after that, and Santa Anna escaped, but was never heard from again. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the war and forced Mexico to give up their northern territory, such as Texas and California. Now let's talk about the sunny golden state, California, that we all love. California started as a little rest stop for travelers by a man named John Sutter. And in 1846, a small group rebelled against Mexico, which owned California at the time. The small group broke away and later became the California Republic. That thing you see on t-shirts with the bear and the star and that stuff. Yeah. Later on, the U.S. gained California as a territory. It's a pretty good deal. Remember how deadly I mentioned it was traveling west? I wasn't joking. The infamous Donner Party, or should I say dinner party, was a group of travelers heading to California. Long story short, they got lost in a blizzard for 5 months and ran out of food, and soon later began eating their dead and each other. Great. So, another thing to look out for when traveling west is cannibalism. Fun. California's population was pretty small, around 1,000, till it rapidly grew. That led to an economy growth due to the lovely or not so lovely gold rush. In 1848, gold was found in California, and news of this spread across the U.S., and soon everyone wanted a piece of that precious gold. Soon everyone was already trying to move to California to test their luck and to get rich, which many did not, because by the time a ton of people got there, the gold was already gone. This, however, did build California's economy, with new jobs being created and more goods being sold, and this also made the population rapidly grow, which is great. Many new inventions were also being created, such as painting and railroads for California. Plus trains to go with the railroads. All these benefits led America to add California as a state to the U.S. rather quickly. It was pretty good. So yes, the West back then seemed like a scary and terrifying place filled with cruel stuff, and not a lot of people knew much about it back then. But settling in the West actually really helped our growth and economy. It just improved our whole country for the better. So discovering and traveling the West actually is a big part of our history. So thanks and bye. Oh, I'm done.